All right, guys, I want to show this real quick. They talk this threat to democracy and all of this stuff. Look at in California. We have. I got a couple of things up, but we're gonna listen to her real quick, and then I'll show you guys what it's like now and what it's gonna change like. So this video is gonna be a little bit longer than the 6 minute one as I usually do, but I'm gonna show you guys like they talk about this threat stuff and this racist stuff. Listen to this lady lie, and of course Gavin Newsom's gonna lie. But check this out.
I am very excited for our next speaker, and I have a little story to tell about it, which is about a year ago, almost a year ago, at the Center for American Progress, we hosted Beto O'Rourke from Texas, and the governor then Beto O'Rourke was talking about what's happening in Texas. He actually previewed in Washington that he thought the Texas legislature would do a mid-decade redistrict. A lot of people at the time thought it wouldn't happen, but it did happen. And the Center for American Progress and Center for American Progress Action Fund decided to go into the fight to really encourage blue states to respond with redistricting efforts. We thought that was important because when you have mid-decade redistricting, it could mean that President Trump would not be held accountable for his actions. So we thought it was really crucial. We called leaders we knew in California, a lot of people in power, and a lot of people raised concerns about doing a ballot initiative. Because here's the thing about a ballot initiative, it could lose. So a lot of people were like, why take the risk? Why take the risk? And we said, because we believe democracy is so important. Well, Governor Newsome decided to go to the public with a ballot initiative to respond to Texas. And because he did that and campaigned for it, convinced the state.
I had to stop it right there. Now, this is current before Prop 50. Democrats in this state hold 45 seats. We only got 9 Republican seats in this state. No Republican holds any representation in the Senate. None. And they talk this threat to democracy. So I'm going to let her finish.
And actually delivered. California's redistricting could mean the difference between accountability and no accountability for this administration.
One other thing is we're supposed to lose 4 more seats. As you can see right here. For Prop 50 that passed in 2025, we're supposed to lose 5 held seats. So we're going to be down to 4 Republicans representing California. Let's let her finish up her line.
You know, a lot of people talk about democracy, but it's important to take risks for democracy. And it's important to fight for democracy. And that is exactly what Governor Newsome did. So we are honored to have Governor Newsome from the great state of California to talk to us about what's happening in the country and how we can solve it. Governor Newsome?
My one member of the family. How are you?
Good, good.
Good to be with you.
Great to be with you. Well, maybe we should just start fresh here.
Start fresh. Unbelievable. Redistricting is still fresh on my mind.
Great.
Fresh on everybody's mind. It is remarkable what the Supreme Court just did. I mean, no other way to describe it except Jim Crow 2.0. What Governor Landry did was even more alarming in this respect. He declared an emergency and suspended an election that already had been conducted, at least for 42,000 people overseas in the military. Literally suspended the election so he can redistrict out African-American representation. That happened in 2026 in the United States of America. Mm. What happened in Tennessee, what's going on in all of these other southern states. So, my state of mind is very much on this unfinished work that we have in front of us as it relates to redistricting and waking people up from this somber, this sort of, shock and awe, this overwhelm every day, being overwhelmed by another headline and another distraction. But what lies underneath in terms of what's holding up our democracy is in real peril right now.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of peril, we just have the news, just in the last day or so, that the Trump administration settled with itself. Essentially,
nothing.
Trump's Treasury Department negotiated with Trump himself over a $10 billion frivolous lawsuit to give a $1.8 billion taxpayer-funded slush fund, I would just call it a slush fund, that will pay out to his allies who were involved in the insurrection. So, just Penny, for your thoughts on that topic.
Well, it's exactly why our founding fathers lived and died. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a hell of a thing, the 250th anniversary, where literally this declaration was conceived to stop this kind of corruption, this waste, and this fraud. This is, I mean, it's so alarming. 17, by the way, not 1.8. It's 1776. Joke's on you, I guess, or on all of us. This is a corruption story, plain and simple. Trump administration is a corruption story. It's the great grift, and it's taking shape on a daily basis in every way, shape, form. You didn't even mention the $230 million at the DOJ that he's also trying to extract, not just that $10 billion, now $1.8 billion settlement. We've talked a lot about the $400 million plan, which is not $400 million. It was over $900 million in the Pentagon budget to retrofit the plan. We talk about the 8 large-scale projects he has in the Gulf and around the rest of the globe. The fact that he quite literally used the tariff regime in order to get those deals done, particularly the one in Vietnam. We're talking about the kind of corruption at scale we've never seen in our lifetime, including what Witkoff families.
He talks this corruption shit. He built a train to nowhere. He's got this right here. He's fit to talk about real quick. Let me put this up for you guys. The Capitol building that he's building. Look where they're at with money. Taxpayer money. This year alone, as of April 2026, $632 million already been spent, with construction about 55% complete. He talks this corruption stuff. We'll let him talk, because he's going to talk about the White House being built.
He's doing, what the Kushner family's doing, the Board of Peace, which is really about getting a piece of the Middle East. All of this happening in plain open sight. You saw last week, and the fact that finally he's delivering on the cell phones. Another part of the grift. The good old days when it was just about watches, $100,000, sneakers, $60, and cell phones. This is happening at a scale we've never experienced in our lifetime, and he's just winding up. And where's Congress? Where's Johnson? Where is Thune? Supine. Completely complicit in all of this graft and all this corruption. Where are institutions? Also rolling over, also selling out with respect. As you know, and I know I've offended people, I've got a Patriot site, which in and of itself should be reasonably offensive because it mirrors and mocks a little bit of what Trump's doing, but we sell knee pads. And by the way, the last...
I don't see anything hilarious about that. He's doing exactly what Trump's doing, and talking about Trump's doing it, it's bad, but he's doing it, and it's good.
Ones sold out. New ones just got in, but, they sold out because our universities, remember that, were selling out. Our law firms were selling out. Media's selling out. All those settlements. You got, and the corruption is, what Brendan Carr is doing. Mm-hmm. What he's doing with the Tenga deal. Nexstar. $6.2 billion. Going to get 80% penetration in our household markets. The cap was 39%. Brendan Carr saying he didn't like the war coverage and is considering now investigating certain media outlets. This is all happening on our watch. Society becomes how we behave. We have agency. We have a responsibility. It's just like the issue of redistricting. We could have decided to write an op-ed. We could have decided, hold hands, have a candlelight vigil, win the argument. These guys are ruthless on the other side. Trump's not screwing around, and nor can we. Yeah, it's uncomfortable fighting fire with fire. Yes, we all want the better angels. Yes, we want the Sorkin sound and music, little West Wing.
It's not fire with fire when Republicans have no say and no voice in California at all. And they just took 5 more seats from the Republicans.
I do. But we'll lose our country. We will lose our country. You saw today, what is the President of the United States spending all his time on? He had a big press conference about the new design for the ballroom that he promised would be private in terms of its contribution. Now he's asking $1 billion of your taxpayers' money. You saw what happened yesterday with Hexit. It's in the middle of a war, 80 days in the middle of a war. So what does the head of the Pentagon do? He goes out there and campaigns in a partisan campaign for someone that didn't do the bidding of the president. This is happening in real time. It's happening on our watch. Again, society becomes how we behave. For things to change, we need to change. You need to change. We all need to change and call this stuff out. No, none of this normal. Don't allow it to be normalized. Do not allow this to be normalized. It's a corruption story. That's the Trump administration. Period. Full stop.
One of the differences we see in our country versus other countries, if you look at Orban's Hungary or Putin's Russia, we are seeing a public opposition. So when you talk about what people should do in this moment, what do you recommend to us?
Well, you don't give in to the fear, cynicism, and anxiety and fear. You realize that you're the antidote to all of that. Mm-hmm. Again, it's not conditions, it's decisions that shape our fate and future. You've seen that with the No Kings rallies. People are showing up. They're not falling prey to the system. You've seen them showing up in state house races. Over 30 have flipped from red to blue, not one blue to red. We're winning. People are showing up. They're not giving up. They showed up for Proposition 50. It was a 90-day campaign. We raised $118 million. We also raised the consciousness from that was when you did the introduction, I was thinking in the back, the reason people were reticent about that is polled at 48% when people were talking about it. We had to shape.
I'm just showing you a little corruption from Gavin Newsome with his bullet train real quick. $231 billion. He talks a good game, doesn't he?
Shift things. Again, decisions, not conditions. So we got to turn it up. They're trying to rig the election. Donald Trump knows he's going to get crushed this November. That's why he made the phone call to Abbott saying he's, quote unquote, entitled to 5 seats. That should chill up your spine alone, that he's entitled to the 5 seats. He didn't expect how we'd respond, didn't expect how Virginia responded. Mm-hmm. But again, we saw how their court responded. This is hard work. And we're seeing how they're responding, not just Landry, but we saw within hours how DeSantis responded with an exclusive on Fox News where the new maps were shown. Not the democratic process with the transparency of the people in Virginia, but an exclusive with Sean Hannity on Fox News. These guys are not screwing around. Ask folks down in Fulton County, is Trump screwing around? Trying to go after our voting rolls in California. He's not screwing around. Do you think a fair, free election, you think that's realistic? With Trump this November, after all he did on January 6th and now the $1.8 billion, take care of this is like, what more evidence? We're dumb as we want to be to think You saw what happened just on forgive me going back to Prop 50, but the day of the campaign in Los Angeles, Donald Trump, of course, sent out on Truth Social, the election was rigged. He sent out the Department of Justice to oversee all of the corruption. That morning, he sent out the BORTAC teams. These are the Border Patrol Tactical Unit teams. These are the Apache helicopter guys, all dressed up in front of Dodger Stadium for the morning news so that our diverse communities wouldn't show up for vote. You think he's not going to do that again all across this country? Come on, what evidence, honestly, is there of what we're about to face? We've got to wake up to this new reality. So we have to be, dare I say it, I'm sorry, Democrats, that we have to be as ruthless as our opposition. We do. We have to win. It's all on the line. You just got to win. I'm done winning arguments. With all due respect to the niceties, it feels good, but we're going to lose our republic. Again, the founding fathers did not live and die for this moment. I can't celebrate July 4th, the best of Roman Republic and Greek democracy, co-equal branches of government, popular sovereignty, the rule of law, not at the time where it's the rule of dawn. And if it hasn't dawned on you, I remember spending 90 minutes with Trump in the Oval Office, and I think he honestly thought everything was his. He was
Granted, Republicans have no say out here in California, and they talk threat to democracy. He wants to talk about he thinks everything, Donald Trump thinks everything is his in the House. Well, it's the people's. It's ours, all of ours. Let him finish up.
showing me the declaration, his declaration. It's a prize, White House, a corruption story happening on our watch.
So, speaking of fighting, President Trump fights with you a lot, as you might notice.
Yeah.
He's also basically waged a 10-year war on blue states and blue cities. Now, here at the Center for American Progress, we do care about facts and figures, and we know that California has grown to have the fourth largest economy in the world, that it is an engine of economic growth. But what do you say to people who worry about blue state governing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we're the economic engine of the United States, blue metros. During the Biden administration, about 71% of the GDP in the United States of America emanated in blue metros. 71%. I mean, we're the tentpole of the American economy, blue states. Many of these red states are donor states. I mean, again, speaking of state of mind, there are also states with lower productivity, lower wages, higher death rates, higher deaths of despair. The innovation index, not even interesting compared to other states. And they're some of the highest tax states. And I really want to make this point. Mm-hmm. The most regressive taxes in the United States of America are red states. They tax poor people more than they do the very rich. Think about that. Who's the high tax state? Florida or California? Texas or California? We have the highest tax rate. We don't have the highest taxes, but you fall prey to that. Many of you, the punditry, lazy punditry.
We're very happy with all the reporters that are here, however.
Yeah. You do. You got to update your facts. By the way, we did update ours. You know, Bloomberg just came out with a piece that should just disabuse everyone of this California derangement syndrome. The top performing economy of all the 49 others, the top performing economy of all developed nations since 2019. 40% GDP growth. We have no peers. We dominate in every category. You talk about manufacturing, you're talking about my home state. You talk to me about forestry jobs and hunting jobs, you're talking about my home state. You talk about venture capital, come on. $106 billion record-breaking venture capital. You talk about every category. There's not a single category, large-scale economic category, where California isn't the dominant state. We have more engineers, more researchers, more Nobel laureates than any other state in the nation. And we are the center of the universe. We're writing the rules of the future. And this is why the right hates us. It's insecurity. It's not our trajectory. You talk about fusion. You talk about quantum. Talk about AI. You're talking about California. 32 of the 50 top market cap AI companies in our backyard, the state of California. So all of these areas, promise, peril, all of that is represented in all of what I just said, that mosaic that is California, the future happening in California often first, America's coming attraction, including the challenges of affordability. Housing crisis that appeared in our state decades before it's now become not just a trend line, but a headline across the United States. The issues of homelessness, poverty, relationship to the cost of housing, the original sin in my state. So much of that now dominant in the consciousness and focus as we relate to the American system today.
I will get to AI, but homelessness and particularly housing costs have been high. You've taken some actions on housing. We at CAP have been very focused on how to lower housing costs. We looked at a lot of your ideas, a lot of synergies there. Do you want to talk about what you've been doing on housing?
Well, we've seen a 59% increase in the number of new housing construction since 2019 and a 56% reduction in the time for permitting, and it's still a low bar. It's a crisis. That said, we were aided and abetted by, he's here, Ezra Klein, this abundance mindset, which is California. It's not a scarcity mindset. It's always at our best, nation as well, an abundance mindset. And we recognize we need a party that builds, period, full stop. The Democratic brand should be the party building. There's one word to define us. There's destruction on the other side of institutions and allies and trust, truth on the other side. Ours, building, liberalism that builds. And so that's our mindset. And we were able to carry through with much more aggressive actions. Again, for things to change, you have to change. And so rather than the usual pace of reform that took shape in my state, including my first 6 years on housing where we made progress, we weren't making a difference. And that's when we decided to move these historic housing bills into the budget, which you don't do. And I threatened to veto the budget unless we got the housing bills done, and we were successful in doing so. It's the mindset we need to take into the future. Because at the end of the day, when you and I were briefly talking about this a moment ago, this system's broken. Mm-hmm. It's broken, folks. 10% of people own 2/3 the wealth. Same 10% own 93% of the value of the stock market. 30-year-old is not doing better than her father for the first time in history. That is a 5-alarm fire. Doesn't work anymore. We can't tinker anymore. You can't play in the margins anymore. There's a reason Donald Trump's in office, the reason Bernie fills stadiums. They're both right on the diagnosis. And we can't, with respect, fail more efficiently by managing more effectively the decline. Doesn't work anymore.
All right, enough of his lies. I'm sorry for the long video. As you can see, I pulled up some charts for you guys to show you guys who's the threat to democracy and what the heck is he talking about, taxes, and who's the highest state tax. I showed you guys. Once again, I apologize for the long video. I just had to show his lies. So if you like me watching him and showing you guys, please hit the like button, comment, subscribe. Watch me, watch him, so you ain't got to. I know he's insufferable, but we got to get his lies out. He lies too much, and he's trying to run for president. So we can't do it. I'd like to thank you guys for watching.